All right, kiddos, let's all be quiet. Let's all take a look at the front. Is that box in your way? Can you see around it? Okay. All right, so my area is a mess, as you can see. But as I was telling you guys before I started, I left my bowl out the majority of the last class day. So I left it out for probably about 6 to 7 hours. Okay, so mine is going to be a little bit harder than yours, but that is okay. So let me grab my bowl. So I put mine inside. I'm going to go ahead and don't touch yours. Everybody just watch. Mine is still nice and wet. Now I was able to put the foot on mine. Okay, and I was able to smooth it throughout the day. I live in here all day long, so I can keep working. You guys, how many of you were able to put a foot on last class? A few of you, like 3 or 4 of you, okay? Your foot is a dangerous thing because while it is wet, you want to make it level, okay? So you'd want to put it down and kind of tap it until it's level. But if you tap it while it's wet today, when you guys slip and scored on, and you slap it down, you'll end up with a flat foot. You won't actually have a foot. So you want to very, very lightly tap it down. Now mine set up last class, so it's nice and firm. So at this point, I am free to sit it upright, okay? Now, your guys' bowls are ready to come out of the bowl most likely, okay? Notice how mine isn't drooping away from the edges. It's nice and firm. Now, as long as I did a good job, I'm not gonna try to pull the whole thing out. It won't come out. And if you try to do that, you will get like finger marks on your rim. We do not want to harm our rim. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the 4 pieces of tape off, and I do like them to come all the way off. It's not that they have to be off. It's just that we want this to be free to open back up. Okay. So these ones aren't overlapping, so I'm just gonna leave those ones on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it over. And mine, like I said, is harder. So your guys' should pop out a little bit easier. But what I want to do is I want to put like a little bit of distance. I can pull it away. See how you can see a little bit of the edge right there open up? So I'm going to just do that lightly on all the sides without harming my bowl at all. Oop, that rips, so it won't work right there. I'm just giving a little bit of a gap, and then I'm not going to try to pull out the saran wrap. The saran wrap is probably wedged deep inside all the wrinkles and creases from the inside. It is not coming out, okay? So what I'm going to try to do is just gently pop out the bowl itself, okay? So it was a little bit tight, but because I loosened the edges and because I did a good job with the saran wrap going all the way over, and because none of my clay was on top. Imagine if my clay was on top right there. If I had squished it on top of the top, I'd have to cut that off. It wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have popped out, okay? Now that I have that out, I am going to just peel this, and I'm just gonna fix anything that might have been fixed. So today, my job is the rim is nice. I cut it nice, but if I need to recut the rim, see how it's mostly level? That is not like wildly off. So I don't need to do anything other than score the rim. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm just gonna get rid of like the thick areas and kind of sand it down. If I have like big areas on the inside, look at that cave right there. Do you guys see that cave? That's a problem area. Okay, so I'm gonna be very careful there. In those thin areas, my clay is more likely to crack. Okay? So I'm just going to do one area from the rim all the way into the floor so that you can see the whole process. Just move those out of the way because I'm just doing that. I'm just going to do this one area and make this one area awesome. Okay? So any high areas I can sand down as long as my clay has enough water in it to smooth. Mine I left out. Your guys's should be a little bit more wet than mine. Does that make sense? So if mine can do it, as long as you did a good job bagging, yours should be able to do it. Put a little bit of water on my rib just to add a little bit. And I'm able, this bowl, I used a big bowl. I'm able to get inside of there And some of those ridges I can just smooth away by going 2 different directions. I'm really compressing. Now notice how I've got my hand on the outside. If I just push hard, especially in this weak area, it's gonna wanna crack right there, okay? So I start first with the rib. See, what can I do to make it really nice? I can use maybe a wee bit of a sponge, but no water on it. So I'm really squeezing out that water. And I'm just gonna very lightly smooth out areas. And now I'm going to fix all the rough bits. So I have a wee bitty crack. Let me zoom in on this so you guys can see it. I have like a wee bitty crack right here. I have a huge crack right here. And I have this big indent. Those are my 3 problem areas in that area. Okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna score. Now some of you guys aren't scoring well. You're not pressing hard. You really need to like rough it up. If you don't see a bunch of gunk before you put slip on it, you're not doing a great job scoring. Then I'm gonna score this where the foot was on the bowl. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my bag of clay and my slip. I'm gonna put my finger on it. I'm gonna shake, shake, shake. I'm gonna very gently and not vigorously put my needle tool inside, just open up any clogged airways. I'm gonna add on some slip. Ooh, that was way too much. So if you get way too much, it's not the end of the world. Just grab a paintbrush. My cart is in the wrong spot right now. I don't want to waste that slip, so I'm actually going to scoop it up and put it back in this slip bottle. But some of you guys aren't slipping enough either. If you don't see slip sink out of your connection, then you're not doing it thick enough. So I like a nice thick, juicy bit of slip on there, okay? If you can't see all the hills, you're not doing it well enough. Now what am I gonna do? Score again. I score, slip, score. Now this is important because it gets that slip deep inside. And notice how I can't tell where my area was, so I'm just over scoring. Once you cover it with slip, you really can't see the problem stuff. Now I'm going to take a pinch, a hunk of fresh clay, and this is going to be enough to do all of it, okay? I'm just going to take a little here, roll it in. And when you join this clay, especially on that bottom, see how deep that ridge is down there? You want to push hard enough that you squish out any air bubbles. Okay, so if I only put like a skinny amount of clay in there, and I put it in there and it's smooth, but if I don't put over enough clay in there, then it's gonna leave air bubbles. So I really gotta put it in a thick enough area that I can, and then you could probably hear like little pops. I just heard one, and that is it cracking, or it's popping the air in there. Okay, I can use my paintbrush to get rid of, I don't know why I picked like the hardest paintbrush in the world, but I did. Now inside of here, I don't know if you guys can tell, let me smooth it off. See how I can still kind of tell where that little snake was? Do you see how there's like a lump there? I don't want to be able to tell that you fixed a crack by putting seams of the crack on the right nice bowl. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my finger and I'm going to squish it out. And you can also use your rib, and you're really squishing out any of that extra clay until it truly, truly is nice and smooth. Okay? Now I do not want to be able to see any evidence of any cracks. I don't want to be able to see any evidence of the foot of your bowls. I don't want to be able to see any evidence of you fixing it. It should look like it was made at a stinking factory. Okay? Should look, because we used a mold on these. Okay? They should be smooth. Now remember, anywhere you squish that clay, you got to score underneath there. So I had lots of scoring. So make sure you do a good job scoring. Now, as I go through here, this one area is looking pretty fly. It's looking fresh. It looks so smooth. I can still see some patches. See how it looks thick right there? Can you guys tell where the patch is on there? It looks a little thick. So if that's the case, I don't like that. I'm gonna take a wooden tool. Sometimes when it's really slippy, I can't really press out all of that wet clay because it's like wet on wet, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna, and I just think it took a divot out of it. But it's wet on top, so wet on wet is fine. So I'm just gonna go right on top. And I'm gonna smooth that out. Okay? Does everybody understand what's happening today? Okay. Any questions? So let's go over the process right now. What's the very first thing you're going to do? What? I can't hear you, Kai.
You have to put a foot on your bowl.
Yes. So number one is get the foot. Okay? After you get a foot on your bowl, what are you going to do? Yes. Tap foot flat. All right, what's the next thing we're going to do? We're going to put a gap between bowl and bowl. Why is that gap important? Good. Then after we get that ridge around the outside, what's the next thing we're going to do?
Take out the tape.
We have to unattach the tape. Unstick tape. After we unstick the tape and we've got the saran wrap unpeeled, then what do we do? What? Take out bowl. And then what's the rest of everything?
Take out
The what?
the saran.
Yep, pull out saran wrap. And then the last thing is smooth. All right, get to work, kids. All right, those of you, everybody was here last class, right? Nobody needs me, really. I love that. I'm here for you, but I'm gonna go unload the kiln. I'm very excited about unloading all your little pinch pots. Woohoo!